Marjorie Whitfield woke to the soft hum of her ceiling fan, the blades cutting through the warm Georgia air like whispers from the past. At 62, her mornings were rituals etched into her bones, coffee brewed strong and black, a glance at the faded photograph of her parents on the mantel, and a quiet affirmation that the land outside her window was still hers. It had been that way for decades, a steadfast anchor in a world that spun too fast. The nearly 40 acres weren't just soil and trees. They were the sweat of her father's brow, the thrift of her mother's hands, a legacy pieced together through years of sacrifice. Her parents had bought it bit by bit, paying off loans with mill wages and garden produce sold at roadside stands. Land is the one thing they can't make more of, her father used to say, his voice gravelly from long shifts as they walked the boundaries barefoot under the summer sun. Marjorie chased fireflies then, her laughter mingling with the crickets, but even as a child she understood the weight of his words. Now, retired from her role as a school administrator, Marjorie lived in a modest ranch house on the edge of the property, a mile from where the suburbia of Macon was creeping in like ivy. Chain stores dotted the horizon, their neon signs blinking promises of convenience, but her land remained untouched, a patchwork of pines, uneven hills, and stubborn clay that developers had long dismissed as inconvenient. To them, it was a blank spot on a map. To her, it was priceless. She had never wavered, even as neighbors sold off their plots to the highest bidder, watching their fields turn into strip malls and parking lots. Marjorie paid her taxes on time every year without fail. She kept her documents in a fireproof safe, organized by date and type. Deeds from the 1950s, yellowed but legible, tax receipts stamped with county seals, maps hand, drawn by her father, noting every fence post and stream. Her attorney friend, Samuel Drayton, had become a fixture in her life. They met at her kitchen table every few years, spreading out the papers under the warm glow of her pendant light. "Marjorie, you've got yourself a fortress here," Samuel would say, his glasses perched on his nose as he reviewed the title. "No one's taking this from you." She smiled politely, stirring sugar into her tea, but inside, she knew the world wasn't so kind. People with money and power often bent rules to their will, and she wasn't about to give them an opening. That's why she drove into downtown Macon twice a year to review the property records in person. The clerks knew her by name. "Mrs. Whitfield, you're one of the few who still comes in." One teased once, "That's because I don't like surprises," she replied, her voice steady as she pored over the ledgers. It was on one such summer afternoon that the surprise came anyway. Marjorie was driving back from the county office, her car windows down to let in the breeze scented with pine and earth. She took the back road near her property, a winding path flanked by overgrown fields. That's when she saw it, a bulldozer tearing into the ground, its blade scooping up red clay like it was nothing. At first, she thought it was county work utilities, perhaps, or road repairs. She slowed her car, peering through the dust cloud, but something gnawed at her. A week later, she returned to find survey stakes planted in neat rows, orange flags fluttering like warnings. Construction crews were pouring concrete foundations, their voices carrying over the hum of machinery. Marjorie pulled over, her heart pounding in a way it hadn't since her school days dealing with unruly budgets or parent complaints. She waved down a worker in a neon vest, his hard hat tilted back. "Excuse me, what's going on here?" she asked, keeping her tone even. The man barely looked up from his clipboard. "New subdivision, ma'am. Lakewood Meadows, 96 homes going up. Gonna be beautiful." Her breath caught. 90, 6 homes on her land. It had to be a mistake. Surely someone had checked the records. No professional developer would assume land was free for the taking. But as weeks passed, she drove by every few days, watching the transformation. Wood frames rose like skeletons, rooftops capped them, siding enclosed them. Strangers were claiming what she had guarded her entire life. She told friends at church, pulling out her yellowed folder of documents during coffee hour. "They can't just build without asking," one woman said, shaking her head. "They didn't ask," Marjorie replied quietly, her eyes steady. "And they didn't check." What she didn't know yet was the backstory. The Lakewood Meadows Homeowners Association, working with Hanover Construction, had assumed her acreage was unused. A clerical error decades ago had left the parcel vaguely described in county records. The HOA had bought adjacent lots and extended their reach, seeing it as a blank canvas. To Clifford Myers, the HOA president, it was progress. He boasted in local papers about creating a thriving neighborhood, posing for photos at ribbon cuttings. But behind the smiles, a storm brewed. The one person they overlooked was Marjorie, filing taxes like clockwork, sitting in her ranch house a mile away. Marjorie wasn't the type to rage. She was calculated, a habit from 3 decades in education where crises demanded foresight. Long before the bulldozers, she walked the land every spring with her cousin Thomas, thermos of sweet tea in hand. They'd stroll past the pines, noting fence repairs. "Still yours, Marge," Thomas would say, tapping an old iron marker, but she trusted paperwork more than words. 3 years before the project, she met Samuel in his Spring Street office. "Developers are circling like hawks," she said, sliding her folder across. "Make sure my land can't be touched." They verified every link in the deed chain, updated her will, filed a quiet title action. It was belt and suspenders a lawyering, Samuel called it. That move would save her. As construction accelerated, Marjorie documented everything. Photos from public roads, dates marked, videos of trucks and pours. She kept it in a binder labeled Evidence, Lakewood Meadows. Thomas asked why no protests or news calls. "Because they expect noise," she said. "Noise fades, paperwork doesn't." Her case grew stronger with every week. The irony, while the HOA celebrated, she had taxes current, title reaffirmed, lawyer briefed. The trap wasn't malice, it was vigilance. They thought her a quiet retiree. She was the one they should fear. The HOA ambition blinded them. Clifford, broad-shouldered and charming, saw dollar signs in expansion. "We're building a legacy," he told papers. They doubled the project, ignoring a junior manager's flag on parcel 1467. "Paperwork error," Clifford waved off. "Start fast, fix later." His motto. Banks backed it, agents bragged, crews worked 6 days. To outsiders, unstoppable. But whispers grew. Contractors on vague records, accountant flags, clerk mentions. Clifford doubled down. Momentum is everything. By fall, half sold. By winter, families moved in. Kids in driveways, wreaths on doors, to them, paradise. Clifford bragged at mixers, "Land's land. We cut through red tape." But a mile away, Marjorie's binder thickened. His ambition would drag 96 families into nightmare. Marjorie's drives turned methodical, phone filming, lot 12 framing complete. Shock lingered. "They plowed right over like I was invisible," she told Thomas. Intimidation came, flyers advertising her land's homes. Audacity made her laugh bitterly. Samuel frowned. "They're daring you." "Then I'll challenge," she said. Whispers spread. church questions, deacon advice to take money. But she wanted justice. First step, cease and desist. Clifford laughed. She won't fight. But Samuel filed suit, attaching documents, complaint hammered, deeds, receipts, maps, probate. Clifford underestimated her preparation. Families unpacked, unaware on fault line. Victor Ramirez overheard workers. Land isn't clean. Brushed off but haunting. Tension at Marjorie's. Daily strategies. HOA argued outdated claim. Samuel smirked, desperate. Marjorie knew optics. They'll paint me heartless. Ready for whispers, cold looks. I didn't work to hand over my land. By spring, subdivision billboard. Perfect. Cul-de-sacs, lights, moving trucks. Ramirez family. Saved for home. Angela loved kitchen. Briggs, backyard escape, nursery painted. Price, retirement reward. HOA celebrated 80% sold. But rumors at block parties. Woman claiming land. Letters arrived, panic. Angela shook. Is this real? Marjorie drove through, pitying families. Victims of arrogance, not hers. Every sign strengthened case. Lawsuit gained speed, pretense crumbled. The lawsuit's filing sent ripples through Lakewood Meadows, but Marjorie moved with the same quiet deliberation that had defined her life. She wasn't one for dramatics. Her power lay in preparation, in the stacks of evidence that Samuel Drayton presented with unyielding precision. The Bibb County Superior Court became the battleground where facts would clash against excuses, and Marjorie's decades of stewardship would stand against the HOA reckless ambition. Samuel filed with attachments, 4 decades of records, a timeline no judge could ignore. Marjorie delivered no fireworks. She had rehearsed this in her mind for years. At a dining table, they reviewed HOA responses. Jargon, dismissals, technicalities. Samuel said, abandoned, taxes paid every year. Marjorie nodded. Word spread. Letters to occupants warned of action. Panic bubbled. Angela called Marjorie. What does this mean? Fights with them, not you. Marjorie said. Pressure on Clifford. Meetings turned sharp. You said fine. One woman extorting. Room erupted. Hanover grew restless. Investors pulled. Realtors quieted. Marjorie felt determination, underestimated for keeping to herself. Power built quietly. Samuel, stay measured. Anonymous letters, ruining families. Regret this. Samuel, fear means closing in. Church avoidance, whispers greedy, heartless. She prayed, head high. Remembered parents' sacrifices, mill hours, stretched pennies. Lawsuit about legacy, respect, standing up. HOA hired Atlanta firm. Clifford interviewed, offered compensation. She won't compromise. Lies steeled her. Honesty mattered. Prove it. Courtroom packed. Families with mortgages. Officials nervous. Marjorie in navy dress. Documents neat. Clifford smirked, whispering. Judge long. Hear arguments. Samuel. Ownership 40 years. Taxes paid. Rights protected. Theft. Heavy words. Homeowners shifted. Clifford's attorney. Improved land, irreparable harm, windfall at family's expense. Marjorie tightened jaw. Samuel let him, weak footing. Witnesses. Clerks confirmed taxes, surveyors boundaries, Samuel photos, maps, deeds. Marjorie testified. Parents worked bone, protected. Didn't build, invite. HOA choice, villain for standing. Homeowners saw her as wronged. Clifford faltered under press. Verify ownership. Trusted. Murmurs. Hallway. Angela approached. Understand why fighting. Marjorie. Sole dream not theirs. Second week. Momentum to her. Experts reinforced. Arguments thin. Families raw. Wept. Angry at Clifford. Final arguments. Samuel. Moral case. Gambled. Lost. Truth undeniable. Attorney pleaded sympathy. Damage done. The verdict day dawned with the courthouse buzzing, hallways spilling with people, news crews outside. Marjorie arrived early in her mother's gray suit, praying for strength. Samuel carried binder. Clifford pale, isolated. Judge entered, unreadable. Finds Whitfield ownership 40+ years. Construction without consent. Gasps, sobs, recognizes rightful owner. World collapsed for families. Lauren wept. Victor hands in face. Monica trembled. Judge, remedies through proceedings. Liable for damages. Not immediate displace. Contingent resolution. Victory for Marjorie. Mama, Daddy, we did it. Outside, reporters. Clifford snapped, not over. Marjorie, not hurting families, protecting mine. HOA gambled. Neighborhood heavy. Fury at Clifford, some at her. He resigned amid shouts. Hanover proposed settlement. Marjorie, not just money, feel weight. Attended church meeting. Don't hate, suffer. Not enemy, false promises. Some softened, Angela thanked. Others' arms crossed. Marjorie placed ruling in safe, sipped tea. One against system. Families limbo. Calls lawyers, discussions walk away. Ramirez held together, kids questions. Briggs debated market, stuck. Price seethed betrayal. Road uncertain, negotiations, settlements. Marjorie preserved dream, message. Ordinary stand against untouchable. Story became parable. Land, dignity, standing tall. Strength doesn't shout. Justice comes undeniably. As sun set, Marjorie walked line with Thomas, paused at marker, never let go, honored them, in distance rooftops gleam, reminders patience, persistence, truth carried through, underestimated, not defeated. Family's pain lesson, shortcuts scar, wrong trust costs high.
If you liked this story, please like, subscribe, and share it with others so they can learn something from it too.